I've gotten to play with some amazing musicians. You know,
There's some good stuff on those 2000 records.
Yeah,
you do a lot.
Yeah,
we can jump into some of it if you want.
We've recorded some stuff, and I love doing that shit because the guys I get to play with are, you know, my good friends. I've known Ismael since 1980.
Yeah.
You know, it's 2019.
So you moved to LA and you don't do bands until when? Or let's talk about that band.
Well, I did.
Band you did.
I did this little kind of tribal, funky, weird band called Ring of Ouch that I kept telling Sean Stern that I had this band, and he kept laughing. He's like, "I'm never going to book you guys. I don't book shit like that."
Did you record or anything?
Nah, it was just a rehearsal band.
So what's the band you do after that?
And then I joined SVDB for a recording.
Because you record on that song, but they do a couple more songs that you don't sing on.
Right. I just was asked to sing one song.
Yeah.
Because
your song wins.
One of the brothers didn't want to sing, and they just asked me to do it, and I did it, and it was, you know, a brief, probably 2 hours, and I was done.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and I'm glad that it got recorded and it got out there because it got some, you know, it got attention. It was a fucking great song, but you know, I'm not a guitar player, bass player, drummer. I'm not a musician. I will sing songs. A lot of stuff that I've done has been written by other people. I've written a lot of my own stuff. Ismael's written a lot of the lyrics that I've sang. You know, it's just the love of doing it. I don't care who wrote it, what. You know, if you like doing it, you like doing it. And
I don't think just because you didn't write it doesn't remove the passion. I wrote all the In Control lyrics, and Ryan sang them all. So, and Ryan was not dispassionate.
Right. Oh, fuck no, Ryan.
You know, and so
I thought I was crazy. The first In Control show I saw, holy shit.
Yeah,
I got to step it up because this fucking kid is making me look like an old man. And he still does. And then he goes out and he rides fucking 20-foot Oxnard on a single fin longboard with no leash. I mean, the guy's a fucking monster.
He hasn't been scared of big waves since I was a kid, you know.
I mean, I don't think anything scares Ryan.
No, he's in 7th grade, and I see him in super stormy conditions, like only dude out.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's pretty psycho.
Well, it's like when we used to play shows at Ojai, you know, and the crowd had all pressed forward, and you guys hadn't even played a note yet, and he's diving into the stage. And people would move, and he'd hit the floor, and he'd eat shit so fucking hard, like skating in an empty pool with no pads and just jumping in the deep end.
Yeah.
That was Ryan.
Yeah, I know.
Ryan just did it.
I remember one time we played Vancouver, and played this bar, and there was no one there, and the stage was like comically high.
Cobalt.
Like, I don't remember. It's so high. And I was like, dude, this show's going to suck tonight, but you have to do a David Lee Roth off that thing. because it's so high and it's so perfect. And he did, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it was sick. And it was like, well, now we got a great memory from the show. Ryan did a David Lee Roth off the fucking 8-foot stage.
Yeah, and he rarely hurt himself.
No.
He would bleed, but he didn't break anything.
Well, we did a run for a while when he cut himself, like on purpose. And that was for that. He'd pretend he'd headbutt the cymbal. Cut himself like a pro wrestler right on the hairline, you know? Wild man.
For some reason, I smack myself in the forehead with the microphone and bleed a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of in the heat of the moment. It's not like I plan on, you know, doing a GG and getting bloody every show, but...
Yeah, but you're first generation. We're
I
just
usually
trying to recreate it.
I usually end up bloody every show.
We're just the imposters that came later. We're trying to recreate it.
Dude. I mean, if it wasn't for, like, the 90s version of Ill Repute and Burning Dog, and then you guys and Missing 23rd, the Nardcore scene would have died off. I mean, you guys kept it going. And then when we came back in 98, you know, me and Ismael and a couple of guys, it was, you know, thankfully there was still something there.
Sure.
Because you guys fucking were flying that flag hard. You know, it's like when I first heard it, I'm like, somebody named a band after Blake's album? That's interesting. And then I saw you guys playing, and I just went, oh, fuck, we got to play with these guys. They're going to, you know, make us step it up. Like, you guys really kind of lit the fire under my ass to bring back a fucking set that was as hard as we could fucking play.
Sure.
You know, I wanted to... We have a motorcycle nearby. We are
competing with the Larry episode. Yeah. These are the Ventura Avenue background or backyard series.
Yeah, it's nice that we're on the avenue now.
Yeah,
it's like it reminds me of the old Oxnard days. This is where everybody's going that just doesn't and can't and shouldn't live anywhere else.
Yeah. So what band do you do after SVDB?
Let me see.
Did you take a nice break?
I took a break because I was really fucked up.
Are you working? You're just chilling?
I was working. I got into being an art assistant on music videos.
That's when you start your real career, though.
Yeah, I guess I started doing adult things in my 30s or 20s, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Because it just never, I was an artist. I was an actor. It's like when I never wanted to be remembered as an actor or called an actor, but if my wife would say, well, "Are you going to get a job?" It's like, what if the phone rings and I have an audition?
Yeah.
So I milked that for a long time. And well, maybe we'll get the band back together and go on tour. And she just laughed.
Yeah.
But I got sober in '96. I'd been in a couple of bands with my cousin. One of them was the Brandon Cruz band.
Yeah.
And that came out of the ashes of Twister Naked, which was his band.
And did Twister Naked do a record?
I don't know if they ever put anything out.
I didn't see it on Discogs.
May have been on a comp or something, but Twister Naked.
I think it was just like one comp song.
They were disturbingly fucked up. I mean, we used to drink. I mean, this was before Four Loko and shit like that, or before energy drinks. But there was this stuff called Crazy Horse. It was like this tangerine flavored.
Oh yeah. Malt
something.
Yeah.
That came in big bottles. We used to drink that shit and shoot heroin and speed and smoke crack and then go to the Coconut Caesar. And this is like late 80s, early 90s. And, bands then, I was going out a lot.
Were you going to Fenders?
I went to some shows at Fenders. I saw Dr. No a few times. I saw him there with Discharge, where everyone wanted to kill Discharge because they were hair metal. But yeah, I would go and I would still go and support, Ismael whenever I could. I did a lot of traveling. I moved out of the mic. I did a lot of traveling too. Before I got married for the second time, I got married in 90 something, 4 or 6, something like that. 94, because I got sober in 96. So between like the mid 80s and the early 90s, I was kind of in the music video scene, working with a bunch of old punk rockers, because I would go drink at this bar where Hetson would hang out. I would see him all the time, and it's just old Hollywood punkers that I knew from the early 80s. In the early 90s and the mid 90s, they're still around. Hetson was still in Bad Religion, and there were still shows.
What is your favorite Bad Religion record?
The first one.
Yeah.
I think everybody's first album is good. Everybody's second album sucks. And then perhaps they did something good third or fourth time, and then they just got to do that formula of, well, that worked, so let's keep doing it. But mostly, in my opinion, everybody's first album is just the most amazing thing, because it was pretty much an experiment.
Sure. And
they came up with stuff that, I think even the stuff that we did later with Dr. No, we had more time to think about it. More thought was put into it, and it's like we didn't want to make mistakes, or we didn't want to touch on certain subjects, or we thought too much instead of just doing it. And in between like 79 and 81, the bands that came out and put out their first records, it's like you listen to the first China White, listen to the first Bad Religion, the first, and even further back, like Nervous Breakdown EP. Like, sure. I don't care if it's EP, LP, whatever. Just the first recordings of just about every band stand out to me as these were experiments that went right.
Well, for the most part, because it could have been that whoever is the catalyst behind the band, they had those ideas that they've been working over in their head for years and years. It's why there's so often a sophomore slump, right? It's like your first record could be like you've been hashing out in your head for your whole lifetime. You know, now second record, you got 2 years to turn it around. It's like good fucking luck.
Yeah.
You know, and now you have different pressures. You're busier. You got more opinions. You got more egos and so forth. And the second record is much harder.
I'm glad we existed before the internet. That's for sure.
Thank God. I'm glad we existed in control at least before high-speed internet. I think I got high-speed internet in 06. We were broken up by 04. But I am glad I'm glad we got to tour without GPS because that's an adventure. But I am glad that at least MapQuest was out. So we would plan like the month before tour and go club here to club here and have like our MapQuest directions at least.
Yeah,
you know?
That was nice because some of our shows, even just like to go play out of town, it's like, where are we going? Mm-hmm. And you had a phone number and an address, and we always found it.
Well, the early MapQuest shit was fucked too. Like we went to play this show up in Tehachapi, and the MapQuest, like someone didn't look at it closely enough and just realized it dropped us off in city center. Like MapQuest can get you to Tehachapi, but we're not mapping out Tehachapi.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, here we are at the Walmart, you know, and like we got a phone number, you know.
Yeah, and then they would, you know, kind of flag you in.
Yeah.
You know, like land here.
Yeah.
Come this way.
Why not?
No turn. No. There's the McDonald's, and then there's the 7-Eleven, and you would find it.
I know. Well, people trip out now, like when I give directions to my house, and it's so detailed, and they're like, I've never had someone give me this detailed instructions to get to someone's house. You know, it's like, well, I come from a life of getting bad directions where it's like, turn right at the big tree, you know, and it's like, well, I don't know what you consider a big tree. Like, is that a big tree or is that a medium-sized tree? Like, should I keep going or do I turn there?
I mean, I lived in Hawaii for a long time, and I remember telling people, you go down the road and then at the red truck, take a left, and hopefully that guy was still home.
Right.
But that's how I knew how to get to these, because you couldn't pronounce half the fucking names.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I live in the house by the the red dirt and the green bush. Like, that's every fucking house in Hawaii.
How is your pigeon?
It's okay if I'm around Howleys.
Okay.
I really would not speak it around Hawaiians because that's a sure way to get slapped.
Yeah.
And I learned that the first time I spent some time in Hawaii. I got really drunk at a surf event, and I walked up to somebody and I went, "Hey, brah, where the bathroom?" And boom, I just got fucking just knocked on my ass by this big Hawaiian guy. And then he picked me up and he goes, "Hallie don't speak pigeon." It's like, all right. And I wanted to, like, brah and throw him a shaka. And I just went, "Okay, sir, thank you." Like as white as I could.
Yeah.
But it's easy to lapse into that, because, I mean, I live in Copenhagen now, and I'm attempting to learn the language because I think it's respectful if you are in another place and you take part in their culture.
I do the same. I worked in Tijuana for a year, running a call center, and I took a serious stab at learning the language. And I'm okay. But you should. It's a sign of respect. If you don't, especially because down there's so much expat culture of people that want to move there because it's a little cheaper, and then they section themselves off and don't associate with anyone. It's like, you're a fucking cocksucker.
Yeah, I don't know any Americans in Copenhagen, really. I hang out with all the Danish old squatter punks who've, like, fought the cops in 1984 with rocks and bottles for 8 days because they were closing a squat down. And these guys are fucking hardcore, and they're political, and they're, like, all Antifa, and they're all, the Nazis don't even fuck with the Copenhagen scene anymore. They stay in Sweden or Germany or wherever the fuck they're from. But Copenhagen is one of the warmest, most welcoming, amazing places, and the punk rock scene is thriving there. It's a bit disjointed. Like, people won't go see a hardcore band because they want to see a punk and roll band. But they've got their audiences, and the shows are small for the most part, unless big touring bands come, and then everybody will go see. Like, NoFX comes, everybody goes to see NoFX, but...
So what do you consider small and what do you consider large? Like a small show is 50 kids and a large show is NoFX draws what, a few thousand?
The last time they played Copenhagen I was on tour with them. There was 1,500 people, and that was max capacity for the place. They could have played a bigger place.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a huge fucking band.
Of course.
It's ridiculous how fucking big they are. But,
Linoleum was that good.
Wait till you hear the new album. They kind of redo Linoleum, which Mike said, "Hey, you can always improve on stuff. Some people are going to hate it, but I think that's what Mike, what drives Mike to do what he does.
Well, he can do whatever he wants.
He enjoys pissing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we jump into the 2000s, you've always been notorious for, what would the word be with you and Doug Moody? You're the most outspoken for how you feel that Mystic treated people, and other people have wavered. I've seen Tony go from, when we go on tour, he'd give us a big box of records, and that's all we needed, to feeling that he got ripped off, to coming in and out. But you've always been very consistent with thinking he took advantage of people.
Well, what Mystic did with my brother's band when he signed a contract with them, my brother was like 14 years old and, being fed beers and doing coke in there, and he signed a contract. And it's like, that's illegal. That contract is illegal. We took the master that had Savior on it, gave it to him to pull that song off of, to be on the comp. And then he gave the master back to Kyle, and for some reason we wanted to use another song on something else, and we spooled up the master, and Moody had given him a blank. After I quit the band, because I never was on a full-length release with Dr. No until much later, he released in, I think it was 86.
86 is the first one.
Dr. No, the original group, featuring Brandon Cruz, produced by Brandon and Dick Clark at ABC Studios, and that was a total fucking lie. And he took that entire master and put it out, years after I quit the band.
So the best of Dr. No in 86, and then Dr. No original group 87.
Yeah, so it confused people, because people were like, oh, Dr. No's Kyle was the singer, and then this other guy came in, and he was the second singer. It's like, no, actually, I was the fourth singer, and then there was a guy named Mark, and then Kyle, and then me, and then Kyle, and now me, and probably Kyle again, and it just keeps going. So I'm like the fourth, the sixth, and the ninth singer of Dr. No, or something. But we're called No now because there was some court thing, something filed, and we aren't allowed to be called Dr. No. So
that thing just happened with the Cro-Mags too. You read about that?
Yeah, I saw the video of Harley just staring into the camera like, ha, ha, ha. It's like, well, where was Paris Mayhew in all this? Because Paris wrote all of that shit. So Paris is very outspoken about Harley, and that's him and John Joseph's thing, and I got no beef with any of those guys.
Well, I like both versions, so I like the idea of knowing what you're going to see.
I like both versions of Dr. No. I mean,
I like both versions of Dr. No as well.
Kyle's a fucking badass guitar player. I don't exactly agree with some of the stuff, the way it's done, or I don't know. It's a complicated issue, and I've been quoted and spoken this very publicly that I would reunite with Kyle and do a Dr. No set anytime. Absolutely anytime. I don't hold that personal, whatever it is he has against me, that's his business. I'm not going to try and figure it out. I'm just going to always keep it open that if we all ever want to get on stage together, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, and also you get older and things soften, and people should try to live a positive, happy life, right? Like, who wants to have animosity? Like
some people.
I hope
still going on.
I've turned the corner on being angry over little things. It just, I don't know. I think about the way I used to act on just getting annoyed and upset and yelling at people and this and that, and I'm not like that anymore.
Yeah, I've seen bands come and go and get back together and break up and go back, and one guy who was the drummer on the third album is now touring under that name, and it's. You know what? If the music is being played, like I went through a lot of shit for joining Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
And punk rock wasn't supposed to be rock stars, but who was it? Rudimentary Peni? Did they talk shit about Joe Strummer? Yeah, they did. And Joe was, certain people were exalted and put on these pedestals, and Jello was kind of one of them. And he was iconic, and he was the voice of a very, very influential band. But I never bought into that whole rock star being part of punk rock. And when they asked me to do it, I thought, fuck yes, it'd be fun.
And if those guys want to play those songs, why not?
Yeah, it's the original lineup, just minus him, and I never wanted to be Jello.
And they never lied and said it was Jello.
No, the promoters did, but the band didn't.
So there were some people that went and thought they were going to see Jello?
Yeah, because the promoters would put pictures of Jello.
Oh, Jesus.
And that pissed him off. But I found out later that he was still getting paid a performance royalty, and he was getting a cut of the merch. I saw the cash checks.
Jesus.
So he was talking shit on the internet so badly, he printed my home address after a death threat from some kid in Ohio, and the feds came to my house to ask if I wanted to press charges. So thanks, Biafra. Now I have a federal file with the fucking FBI. And
pretty punk.
And after I quit the band in 2003, he called me up. He goes, "What happened? What happened? Was it Ray? Was it, he wanted to know the whole details." And of course it was Ray. But I wanted to tour more, and I wanted to do original music, and they wanted to play the same 17 songs that they still play now 17 years later. So that's up to them,
Yeah, but you do write original music in the 2000s, and actually Dr. No is kind of more prolific with writing songs then, or it's just as much as the 80s, right? 3 LPs in the 2000s and 3 LPs in the 80s.
Yeah.
So you wrote a lot of stuff.
Ismael wrote a lot of the material. I would I'm not a guitar player. I can do like 3 bar chords and kind of say it should sound like this. So I've written some stuff, but
you can sing a riff.
I can sing it, and I can write some lyrics, and I can say I want it to sound like this. But really, the whole band is a part of the songwriting process. So we made it a point the last album that we did to say all songs written by Dr. No, because everybody was a part of it. Everybody played it. And I think it's only fair to, do it like that. Even though maybe Rick, the drummer who was on our last album, didn't write anything, he had to learn the drum parts.
Well, that's what I was talking about with Ishmael. I was like, even if you're not writing the riff, you're still there as the initial critic, right? So you can say, I like that. I don't like that. And inevitably, with weeding out a bunch of stuff you don't like, you've crafted a song that you approve of, and you're putting your stamp on it. Right, so it is your song.
Yeah, I mean, Ismael wrote the lyrics and the music to "Die Hippie Die," one of my favorite newer Dr. No songs, and we would play that, and I fucking loved that song. But some people didn't get the humor in the song, and it pissed some people off, which is great. I mean, if you're going to play bland music that nobody gets a reaction over, then
I don't know. And also, if you're upset about an anti-hippie song in the 2000s, I mean, Jesus,
but
that ship has sailed.
We kept some of the themes and the original ideals of Dr. No. The album was called "Killing for God," which is taken from one of the songs that Kyle wrote. Our imagery has not changed very much. The original artwork is still the original artwork. It's very iconic. And when we toured as No in Europe the first time, we had shirts that said No, and nobody bought them because they wanted it to say Dr. No. It's like, well, no, we're called No. And then we played Rebellion Fest, and I said, fuck it, we're just going to call it Dr. No. So they project this thing on the back of the stage, and we put up the big Dr. No thing, and we got a good response. We had a great set. And
I think that's fair. I think that if you advertise yourself that you're going to see No, that's fair to the kids and the ticket buyers, right? But if they go to the show, people want to buy a Dr. No shirt. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with them wanting it or you selling it.
No, what bugs me is the way Doug Moody puts Mystic Records on every Dr. No release now, on top of Jaime's art. So you don't take a crayon and fucking scribble on the Mona Lisa and say that it's a new release.
No, yeah, that's true.
You don't fuck with stuff like that. And Mystic has been doing that for a long time. And yeah, when we would go out and tour, I think 2003 we toured with Ill Repute and Stalag, went up to Vancouver and back, and I went to the guy Bill, Sounds of California, and kind of more demanded than asked for CDs. And I was given like 20 Dr. No CDs and 20 No Effect CDs and 20 Scared Straight CDs.
Yeah.
And just expected to, go out and flood the market with all of this stuff that they couldn't sell. So yeah, they did kind of forcibly support it because I hate lawyers and I don't think lawyers belong in why spend 20 grand to get 200? It's, it's stupid. It's not, I hate saying it's not punk rock because that's just overused and watered down, but it's just not, it's not part of the ethos of who we are or what we do to be, that American greed thing.
Yeah, it's not stand up.
Is fucking horrible. It's like, okay, this label's ripping you off. Name one label that doesn't do that. There's probably not one label that hasn't done something either by mistake or on purpose to anybody. And it's a business, and it's all these anti-corporate and anarchist bands. They sell their merch. It's capitalism. Yeah. It's it's kind of a double standard, but it is what it is. And it does cost money to tour. It does cost money to rehearse. The equipment's not cheap. And you ask for a certain amount of money. There's some bands that won't play for under a certain amount, and I don't blame them because it's, we're older now. We got jobs, we got kids, we got wives, we got whatever it is that we got. To get the time off work, and it's like when we went to Europe for the first time. We should have gone over there a long time ago, but it didn't work out. And then when it did, we went with Stalag, and they took care of us over there. It was fucking great. We got paid way more than we would in the States. And they give you food, and they give you beer, and they give you water, and they give you a place to stay, and all the sound equipment is top notch, even in like little dingy squats, little horrible places that look like shit, but they fucking sound amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how CBGB's was, right? It looks like a piece of shit, and like that sound system is like, good God.
Yeah, we played CB's, and I know it was at the tail end of CB's existence, but it got us out there to the East Coast, and the guys from Municipal Waste said, "So what are you guys doing now?" And we said, "Well, we don't know." And they go, "Let's go on tour," and we just played all these house parties.
Sick.
Us and Municipal Waste just went up and down the East Coast playing wherever we could.
Yeah.
We played in an abandoned house, and they were slamming through the living room, into the kitchen, down the hallway, through the dining room, and back into the living room. Just going in a big circle.
That's great.
That's the fun part of doing it. I'm 57. I'm playing to a room full of 15-year-olds that are, really into the music, and then we need a place to stay, and some kids like, my parents aren't home, and you go and you sleep on the floor, and then the parents come home, and you wake up, and it's some dad looking at you like, who are you and what are you doing here? And you realize, wow, I'm like 15 years older than this guy. Yeah. Like, your daughter said we could stay here. That turns into some weird situations.
Yeah.
My daughter's 19. If I, woke up to a room full of, much, much older guys that she invited over because she'd been at their gig, I don't know. I'd probably handle it pretty well because I've been in that situation.
It's almost just too bizarre. You got to let it go.
Yeah, I'll still do it. I will still go and play squats. Last year, did a tour with NBC all over Germany and stuff, and we played squats, 200 people in fucking 120-degree basements with everybody smoking right in front of you, and we slept in some fucking amazingly old, beat up, rundown squats, and I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
It's, I don't require the tour bus and the, fucking 500 thread count sheets and all that shit, because I've gone out teching and advising, consulting in various manners, different bands, and because when I'm not doing music, I help people with drug and alcohol problems. I got sober 22 years ago, and I know what it's like being on the road and just feeling pretty fucked up if you're trying to maintain your sobriety, or you think it might be a good idea to do it. So I've worked with a number of bands, and I've been spending a lot of time in Europe. That's why I moved to Copenhagen, because it's the starting point for a lot of people. Or London, I can get shit. Last time I flew to London was €8 from Copenhagen to London. They got really cheap flights.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it's like $11.
Yeah,
to fly for an hour. It's like you can't go to San Francisco for $11. No, you can't take a bus or a train or anything. It's a couple hundred.
Yeah,
but over there you can get around easily. I don't have a car in Copenhagen. I have a little tiny apartment. Got a warm jacket. I got some warm boots, and I got some other shit. And a lot of the Danish people think that I have way too much and I'm too American.
Yeah,
because I have 2 bicycles.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, that's pretty fancy.
You gotta have one for your lady.
Yeah, the ladies over there are very independent, and they've got their own everything. They don't rely on guys.
Well, I'm sorry if that offended. We played Retaliate played Sweden, and I was on stage, and I was like, man, you guys have some beautiful women here. And some girl got mad at me. Like, I got off stage, and I was like, this is sick. We got flown to Sweden to play one show. We're on top of the world. We go backstage, and there's this girl waiting for me. And she's like, I can't believe you said that. This is so misogynistic, and this and that. I was like, I'm just saying it, right? Because I live in San Diego now, and the first thing I noticed when I moved to San Diego is like, you can't go anywhere without seeing beautiful people. It's like you can go all day in Oxnard and not see a pretty girl.
Yeah, that's true.
Which,
well, unless you come across, the drummer of Auxilio, but she's gonna kill me for that. Christine knows I fucking got a sweet spot for her.
Dude, that band rips.
They're amazing. They killed it at Punk Rock Bowling. 200 bands played that whole thing, whole entire weekend, and they were named one of the top 12 acts.
I saw that. That's so sick.
I'm so stoked for them, and they're technically not a Nardcore band. The majority of people are from LA, but Christine holds it down, and
they're a Nardcore band featuring members from LA.
Yeah, she's a fucking badass.
Yeah.
Well, it was like RKL was pretty much considered part of our family. They were as accepted as Nardcore as anybody else, and they were from Santa Barbara. But
yeah, can you talk about that? Because I've had a couple people hit me up because I refer to the big four of Nardcore, and people now, RKL has a big fan base still. Oh, yeah. And they'll hit me up and say, you talk about the big four, but what about RKL? Shouldn't it be 5?
They were our cousins more than they were our brothers. Yeah. But still part of the family. Yeah. But because of the distance, and we played with them. We played with them a few times, several times. Hell, when I threw the Nardcore 20th anniversary show with Lorenzana Brothers at the Skate Palace in Wainimi, I asked RKL to play it. It wouldn't have made sense to throw a Nardcore party without them.
Yeah, and they're on the Nardcore comp.
Yeah, but and I wanted no effects on it because they had Dave Casillas in it. And, they were kind of by proxy, Nardcore-ish. Fat Mike lived in Santa Barbara for a while, and they were a fucking horrible band in '83. Like, nobody wanted to play with no effects. They were really, really bad. I remember Fat Mike coming up and saying, we want to play. It's like, we were in the Red Barn. And it's like, well, go get a PA. There's no PA here. And somehow he went and he wrangled a PA and it's like, okay, you guys can play. Now. It's 4 p.m. Yeah, you're the openers. And everybody else started around 8 or 9. But they got to play the show. I mean, they were that bad. They were fucking horrible.
Those first 2 7-inches are not good.
But they just kept doing it, and they just kept doing it, and then they got better. And that's one band I will say their first album was not their best.
No.
Their new album, I was up there hanging out with Mike, and while they were recording it, and I gotta say there's some songs on there that are fucking amazing. I mean, for as fucked up as that guy is, he's a genius at writing lyrics, and his bass playing is heavily influenced by Bomber, and Little Joe was like his little understudy, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of pop punk, except for like the original guys, Buzzcocks, and I'm really going to piss off a lot of my friends if I say anything more. But
You're gonna piss off a whole another sect of people if you don't.
yeah,
Now
well,
that you've
that's true.
teased.
Well, I said I'm not a big fan of pop punk. I'm not a big Blink-182 fan, or I do like Green Day for what it's worth. Their first album was pretty fucking good. I did like Operation Ivy, so if I when I talk shit about ska, it's like I got to kind of swallow it a little bit and say, what, that band wasn't bad.
They don't have horns.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, bring horns into it. It's just.
Shit porn.
So, anything else you feel like you want to talk about, or?
I did an interview recently with this magazine, Paradigm, after we played a backyard show in Oxnard a few months ago when I was over here the last time from Copenhagen. And it was probably one of the funnest shows I've ever played. It was supposed to be at Pepe's on Silver Strand, and the cops came and broke it up after like a band and a half. And we moved it over to this kid's house. It was like in 8th grade.
Yeah.
So here guys that are like 56, 57 years old going over to an 8th grader's house to go play. And the mom and dad are like, oh, yeah, come on, set up in the back. And, do you guys need a power extension? And it was just kids, the word went out, and all these kids showed up, and it was like basically a big Mexican crowd of kids from Oxnard, and then there was one blonde girl walking around with a broken, bloody nose. And I said, this is fucking awesome. I took a picture with the girl, and her dad saw it. He's like some Christian surfboard shaper in Ventura, and a friend of mine knew the parents, and they were asking, like, who's the guy in the photo with our daughter? And I'm like, what? She's 18, right? like my daughter's 19. I would kill somebody. But it was an amazing show, and the support and the love of the kids. I didn't even have to sing. They knew every fucking word.
Yeah, well, Nard is firing on all cylinders right now.
It's going off, dude.
Because there's a band called Dead Heat that is like more of our hardcore type, like the Retaliate stuff, and they're like hyped right now. So they're like getting flown to the East Coast and playing, and they just put out their first LP. They had like an LP of like their demo stuff before that, but like new LPs out, and then you got like the Civil Conflicts and so forth, and they're firing. You got like
Bootleg,
the older
Bootleg Brigade.
Yep, Bootleg is like friends with them.
Yeah, they're killing it. Scott Porcho's turning me on to like a lot of the newer bands because I'm not here a lot.
Yeah,
and he'll send me like, "Hey, listen to this." I'm like, who's this? And he's like, "They're from Ventura, or they're from Oxnard, or from Montalvo, and Porcho's got his finger on the fucking pulse of this place.
Yeah, you got like, but it's almost like every decade is firing right now. You got like the 20 and under year olds. You got like the Dead Heat guys are like 29 and under. I'm 39 now. Retaliate's still going. You got the Carrars and Joe's got Out of Trust going again.
Yep.
So you got No and Ill Repute, and everyone killing it. Still.
Yeah, and Stalag's still playing. And
yeah, Stalag's playing, No's playing, Ill Repute's playing. So it's like, I don't know if it's ever been firing like cross-generationally like this ever.
The last time I was here visiting from Copenhagen, there were 4 shows in one night.
Exactly.
Happening in Ventura County.
Yeah.
And basically Oxnard to Ventura.
Yeah.
When does that fucking happen?
Yeah.
Ismael posted on Facebook the other day, the Dead Boys are playing the Garage in Ventura. Never thought I would say that. Mm-hmm. And they showed up and they fucking killed it.
Yeah.
And they brought a band with them from LA, a D group, that everybody was just like, this is the best opening band. They were so fucking good. Like, a lot of people will go see them again.
That rules.
So we are still discovering new music, and there are new bands coming out that are carrying the torch of Nardcore, whatever that may mean to some people. I know what it means to us.
Yeah.
Those of us that have been a part of it for as long as we have been. And then guys like you that came in, second or whatever generation, however.
We're at least third wave.
But you guys were such a fucking force. In Control was such a powerful, popular band. And I remember shows when we first got back together that we would do in Ojai with you and Holier Than Thou. Mm-hmm. And
very underrated band.
And Holier Than Thou were fucking amazing.
All their records.
God damn, that was a good band. They were from Santa Barbara, right?
Yes.
unbelievable. And the energy in those shows and those pits, fucking, and it's like my brother's in the pit with his kid who's, drums in, what band's he in? Civil Conflict? Huh? Declining Youth. Yeah, that's another Nardcore band, just doing it. And
Declining Youth, shout out.
These kids are, getting generators and going to the Oxnard skate park and plugging in and just fucking playing.
Yeah.
They're just going for it.
Yeah.
They threw shows at Pepe's and they'll go out to the dunes. They'll go to the ship at the south end of Silver Strand. They'll play anywhere. And that guy Austin, who puts shows on, he has this little warehouse, and he doesn't really let a lot of people know publicly. But if you know, you know. And he hosts like a lot of different types of bands, like artsy bands and
sure,
trippy. Because he's all into the microdosing and smoking the dabs and, the whole, 420 culture. And I don't think that the scene has ever been more varied or more viable.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, I think that there's something for everyone. And it's, I think that I would like to hope that at least from my generation forward, we've always been very accepting to people as long as like they're respectful. And I think that it's a good time to come in and find what works for you and be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, some people take, they slap the Nardcore label on their band. It's like, you're not, I don't even know you. I haven't lived here for 25 years, so I don't know everybody. It's like, well, I'm not really from here anymore, but by choice. But yes, sometimes I think that Nardcore gets kind of co-opted a little bit, and yeah, maybe if me and Ismael and Tony and Fanif and Blake and Ron Baird all got together and got very judgmental and started saying yes, this is, and no, this isn't, that would just take away from the freedom that was afforded to us to call whatever we wanted, and do whatever we wanted. Because we were a bunch of people that normally would not have hung out together. Like, I don't know that I would have known Dale Repute guys if they weren't in a punk band.
You would have hated them because they're Wainimi.
Yeah, they're fucking Wainimi. And where are they claiming Oxnard from? They're from Wainimi.
I already made that joke.
Yeah. If you consider that Silver Strand is county, unincorporated, the only true band that had the majority of people from Oxnard was Dr. No. And that's just the fucking geographical truth.
I do like the idea of our bands having to appear before you guys and having you judge us.
Yeah, I think
I deem ye proper nard.
We'll get like a leg.
Be a little YouTube channel.
We'll get like a leg of fucking beef or lamb from one of the carnicerias in Colonia, and we'll just go on Cooper Road and start anointing people with the blood of
the nard.
Yeah, we'll all cut our fingers and do blood oaths, and yeah, it would be fucking ridiculous. I think anybody that wants to be respectful to who came before them and kind of command some respect on their own, like, if you're gonna do this, fucking do it.
Yeah,
because we got a long legacy, and I've not been disappointed by 99% of what goes on that wants to be part of this.
Yeah.
And the small things are the small things, and I'm not really going to sweat it because it's bigger than one person, and it has to remain that place where people that don't belong anywhere else can feel that they belong.
Yeah.
And if I get to be a crusty old fuck that excludes somebody because of a geographical location, or because I don't like the way their band sounds, or I don't like the bands that they'll open for, or if they're considering signing to Mystic or whatever. So I've talked to a couple bands out of signing to Mystic. I'm very happy about that.
Well, there's no signing. I've talked to Doug before, and he says basically, okay, here's how it works. You pay for everything, and then you get a small percentage of records. It's like, wait, so I fund the label. What? But I think, look, I'll tell you what. He said exactly how it worked. I said, not interested. And that's that. Maybe he has gotten honest.
No.
In regards to that, he said exactly how it was going to work.
Well, okay. But then he doesn't tell you that he's going to take your master and put it out 17 years later and then 37 years later and keep repackaging it. Like there's a new compilation, there's a new copulation.
Yeah.
There's a new Party or Go Home.
Yeah.
There's all these new bands on it and the old bands. And it's because he has all the masters and he can do what he wants and he doesn't care about contracts. And who's going to sue him? You know, NoFX was really fucking pissed off about the way he was handling their old catalog that he had of theirs, the recordings that he had the masters to. And Fat Mike's a fucking millionaire and he could own the dude. But he's like, you know what? He puts out the fucking music. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like, and Fat Mike was the one who talked me out of even thinking of suing him. He goes, I could have sued him 100 times over. He goes, but why spend 20 grand to get 200?
Yeah.
Because you can't squeeze blood out of a rock, and Moody's just an old fossil. There's no fucking juice in there. So, okay, you're gonna rip off everybody. You're gonna bootleg all this shit. You know what? At least some kid's going to find an old Aggression CD or a compilation of a bunch of great bands and maybe discover it for the first time. And he did do some good for some bands that would have never been put out by, at the time there wasn't Epitaph yet. There was maybe...
like, for instance, if you wanted to compare it to something, it's like, that Stalag was impossible to get in the 90s. Right. I'm assuming the late 80s and 90s because Upstart, they... printed however many records they did, and the only other people that put it out was Lost and Found, and they had to have gotten bootlegged by them too, right?
Right.
Because Lost and Found is super notorious for that. So that Stalag record, it was like 20 years of not being officially put out until Doctor Strange did it.
And just labels in general, like the bands that I talked out of doing it, of signing with Mystic, due to personal experience, they asked, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, he's promised us all this stuff. And I said, well, it's probably pretty empty promises. And you got the internet now. Load this shit up. There's Bandcamp, there's SoundCloud,
just put it out yourself. Print your own labels. Like the Control 7-inch, we just put the Mystic labels on the B-side. He can sue me. Fuck it.
Well, I'm back in the States now for a little while. I do have to get back to Europe eventually. To play more music. I have a band in Copenhagen called Ass Bastard, and we do covers, and I play kazoo, and we have an electric bass, acoustic guitar, and the guy sits on a cajon and bangs on it. So it's not a traditional band, and I brought home a pickup for my kazoo, so I now have an electric kazoo, and we're pretty disturbing, and we do basically feminist, female-oriented songs. We're doing a Bikini Kill, Pretenders, X-Ray Specs. So we're doing all these female-oriented songs, but it's a bunch of guys doing them. It's kind of fun to look at these Danish punks. Like, okay, this sounds familiar, but okay, it's the wrong gender doing it, and it's on all the wrong instruments.
Sure,
but they're getting a kick out of it. I mean, we're getting invited to do some pretty big shit. And it's like, really? You want us to play at the Roskilde Festival? It's a huge fucking festival. It's like, yeah, you guys are funny. It's like, okay, we'll do it.
Someone's got to play at 4 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
NoFX isn't a band.
1983 NoFX is no longer existing, so we'll get Ass Bastard to do it. But I think we're going to change the name. Again, every gig I think we'll change our name. But I was talking to Ismael because I think while we're here, we're going to start writing some new stuff. And I think we're going to have it put out on Mystic.
Do it.
Why the fuck not?
That would be the ultimate mind fuck, right?
Like, I just didn't want all you guys on the label because we want to be the fucking big cheese on this one.
We want to make sure that he has that recording budget to capture us.
Yes, yes. We'll probably record it ourselves on iPhones and get that good Mystic sound. And then he can rip us off again. And it'll be like old times. It'll be beautiful.
Yeah, to be young.
We'll reminisce. Like, remember when we got ripped off by this guy before?
It felt so much more real, though, in 2020.
Yeah. But I like the idea of bootlegging Mystic. Like, maybe we'll just spell it with an I. 2 I's.
I found this There's a Battalion of Saints bootleg. It's like someone bootleg Mystic. I saw it.
How dare they?
It's pretty sick. I didn't buy it, but I saw it, and I was like, "This is hilarious," because it's out as a Mystic record. And it's not a Mystic. So.
Oh, that's fucking turnaround is fair play. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I have been outspoken about Mystic and my disdain for what he's done. But then I think back and was like, yeah, a lot of people wouldn't have heard a lot of these bands.
Yep.
And
that's more important than anything, is getting it out there.
It is what it is. But nowadays, you don't need anybody to put things out. You can do it yourself.
Yep.
And that is what this whole thing was all about, was doing it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, the Copenhagen scene has shown me that like, do-it-yourself exists. Like, because nobody's... I don't know if there's a label there. Every band over there is just doing their own thing and funding their own touring. They get paid by the government to do it because they pay a lot in taxes, but they get a lot in return. And I've had friends of mine that, you know, I grew up with that I've known for a long time here in Oxnard, and they're like, so how is it over there in commie Denmark?
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand socialism, do you?
No. When we went to Sweden, they took like a 0 interest government loan to like fly us there and then paid it back. You know, it's like, because the Swedish government encourages the arts. So it's like, it's summertime, it's time to bring a bunch of bands in so people can like meet people from all over the world.
Yeah.
It's like, and the more people you know, the less scared you are of everyone.
I know a group of skaters in Copenhagen. They run an indoor skate park, and they were called before the government, and they were asked if they could help build more DIY parks.
Yeah.
Like, we'll give you the cement, we'll give you money, we'll get you rebar, we'll tell you where you can build them, or you find them and you tell us where you want to put them. And because the kids need something to do. And my roommate over there, he works for a place called Kraftwerke, and the Underwerke is the venue.
Yeah, where you played.
Yeah, where we played. The Underwerke is a government-funded youth organization, and they pay for the bands to play. So what comes in at the door and what beer sales there are, and they serve like 16-year-olds. They don't care. And you can smoke anywhere. So it's pretty free. The people that work there get to keep it, and they divide it. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you're the guy taking the money at the door, or you're the guy that's the bartender, or you're the sound guy. They all split it. And the government pays all the bands.
It's amazing what happens when you're not paying to drop bombs on brown people in other countries.
Yeah, well, you know, American greed.
There's a lot of brown people here they could drop bombs on. Sorry.
Yeah, there are. Drop one on Ismael. It'd be horrible. If they drop bombs on brown people in Oxnard, half of the Nardcore scene would be gone, if not more. And that's the thing that I'm really stoked to be involved with this scene, because it's not just a bunch of, I wouldn't say Orange County white people. It's just not. It doesn't matter what you are here. Right. Nobody fucking cares, you know. And I've seen bands come in and play with other bands that nobody may have heard of. And there's a band from Ventura called Crush the Flowers, and they were fucking amazing. I'd never heard of them, never seen them play. And these guys played like this weird psychedelic stoner, sludgy, doomy kind of stuff. And I walked up to the guy and I'm like, I think you're fucking amazing. You don't have a singer. Why? And he's like, nobody sings. I'm like, I will. Let's do something. So I'm just waiting for Scott from Crush the Flowers to get a hold of me now that I'm back. And because Isma asked me, hey, you got another band over there? You know, like hardcore? You playing punk rock? It's like, no, I already have a punk rock band. I do kazoo. And
by the time this comes out, you'll be gone again.
Right.
Oh yeah, but just ask Josh Stamps. I'll be back. He makes so much fun of me. He's like, "You don't leave for very long. You're still from here." Like, no, I'm not American. I haven't given up my citizenship, but it's really hard to get Danish citizenship. So maybe I'll have to go to Italy. I'm just touring the world because I can.
Yep.
Why not? I would.
And it's fun. And I get to play music all over the world and experience different cultures. And, you know, that's growth. Like when we all went together over to Europe, I mean, we were like little kids. We stayed in this hotel in Karlsruhe, Germany. That was so fucking bizarre. With these weird statues and odd automobiles.
Mouth.
Yeah, you walked into like the mouth. It was like a Disneyland designed by somebody on acid, and then they didn't take care of it for 20 years. And then you stayed in these like 1970s rooms that had like AM, FM, 8-track modular bed things, and it's bizarre over there. And then some of the squats that we played just were. There's a club in Germany, I think Dusseldorf, and we pulled up, and there's a mural of Blake, the In Control album, painted on the side of the fucking building.
That's great.
I'm like, Blake, there you are. He's like, what? That's not me. Because Jaime drew it.
Right.
And it was always thought that it was Blake, but Blake would always say it wasn't him. It's fucking Blake.
It has to be Blake.
Was that AK-47 or Al-Takharai? It wasn't the...
No, AK-47 was the place where the whole neighborhood was painted.
Yes, okay, so it was Al-Takharai.
Somewhere, I don't know.
Slaughterhouse.
I don't know. Germany's a great place to play. Just the thing about Germany, it's full of Germans.
It had to be Blake because
No offense, German people.
Dave Casillas doesn't come off as a jumper.
No.
No, it wasn't a mural of
He's the
somebody
shredder.
falling.
Yeah,
it, was,
Yeah,
it was somebody
Casillas
jumping.
is the shredder, and Blake was a 15-year-old that was jumping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Blake wanted to be Brian Baker. Ron Baird carried lyrics around in a briefcase because he heard Ian MacKaye did that. They were... But the amount of LSD I did with Stalag 13 really makes me think that they were not a straight edge band. But they had their moments of clear-headedness.
Midweek. Tuesday to Thursday.
As an early flip side article quotes Blake, we're straight edge in our own way. And that about sums that up.
That's a good place to end everything.
That was funny. So yeah, thanks for doing this podcast. You're putting together quite a history of our scene with a lot of different people.
That's the intention, is to I've said it a million times on here now, but basically there was a couple podcasts I liked, and I would email them, hey, you should interview this guy, and it was like, why am I telling someone else who to interview? That's not like what punk is about, just do it yourself. So that's it.
Exactly. Just start a podcast.
Yeah.
Just do it. Put it up on. Now you don't need a iHeartRadio contract to do it. You just fucking put it up, and people spread the word, and send me a link to it. I'll put it up on my Facebook and my social media.
Yeah.
But this year, and so far, what are we, like 6 months into the year now?
Yep.
I have hit delete and not send on so many things because I won't get involved with politics, and I won't get involved with the politics of Nardcore. I won't argue with Forrest or Jeremy about anything. Or Tony. I mean, Tony and I wouldn't speak for 2 years over some stupid shit. I can't even remember what. Tony Cortez, one of my fucking closest, dearest friends for decades. We got into some discussion about something that we probably both agreed on. But, he had his way, I had my way, and it was like, well, fuck you. It probably had something to do with Mystic or Nardcore or something stupid, because, I've been very outspoken, and I've pissed off a lot of people. And I'm allowed to do that. Because, I don't expect people to censor me. I don't expect to censor other people. I'm going to say what's on my mind. But upon some reflection at the beginning of the year, or just before the beginning of the year, I wonder if I can not get into arguments on the fucking internet with people for a year. That would be interesting.
Did you start doing yoga?
No, I don't do yoga. I did get into meditation and stuff, and
Well, that's even gnarlier.
I'm almost a empowered Buddhist meditation. No, that's Hare Krishna. So different. God, Ellen, you have so much to learn.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. You feel like you've been well represented?
Fuck no, I could go on for hours, dude.
Well, you can always do a part 2. Jot down some stuff you want to talk about. Maybe we'll.
Do you know who I think I am, Zach?
We can come back into season. I know.
We can end it there.
All right. I'm hitting the button.